of an agenda for this afternoon. I'm just going to run through the update on some of our professional learning opportunities, a few things that we've added since our last meeting, which is really exciting to talk to you about. Then the team from Data Cymru will take us through their workshop and the opportunity to go into some breakout rooms as well and engage with that work, which is going to be great. Then I'd like to share and launch with you the digital progression maps that myself and the cross-regional partners have been working on. Again, really exciting resource to use around supporting you with progression in a number of different areas when considering digital competence in and across your curriculum. And then finally, and I've left this one till last to keep you all engaged for the whole session, the opportunity to apply for a pot of funding that will look at developing computer science in your school. So money available to purchase equipment, which I know we're all really looking forward to and want at the moment. So that's the last little bit. So you've got to stay on for the whole session to be able to find out that little bit of information. Okay. So just to take you through then some of our professional learning updates and some of the things that we've been added to our professional learning calendar for this year. As you will all be aware at this point, and I hope you're all aware at this point, the professional learning offer is available on the EAS Supporting Our Schools website. You can get access to that website in a number of different ways. The first way is to click on that link on the screen there. That will take you directly to the page. But also, in your school web browser, so if you're on a school device and you open up Chrome or your Microsoft Edge browser, there will be a bookmark in the top left-hand corner that says EAS bookmarks. When you click onto that bookmark, you'll be able to see the Supporting Our Schools website. And then I think the professional learning offer is the fourth option down on the left-hand side for you. So really easy to get to. If you're using your school device, please use those bookmarks to find your way to the professional learning offer, and also a range of other support that we do offer as a service to help you and your schools. With regards then to the updates on our professional learning offer, we've got our network meeting dates there. There has been one change to a date since our last meeting, and that is the final meeting of the year, which is now going to be held on Tuesday, the 2nd of July. Currently, we are considering the use of the University of South Wales again, not to run a big conference like last year, but to more run a larger networking event where we can get everyone together. And those of you who are taking part in the computer science project, you will have the opportunity to share some of the work that you've been doing as part of that day. So today's meeting, obviously, with Data Cymru. Our next session, which is going to be in January, at the end of January, will be with Technocamps, and that will be looking at the use of Scratch in the classroom, and is again open to you as digital leads or to any teachers in your school. As you move on then to some of our popular offers this year, the next cohort of the Digital Skills for Teaching Assistants programme will be beginning in February, and the first cohort has just finished now and has been really popular, and a huge thank you to Hayley and the team at Georgetown for facilitating that programme for us. It's been really exciting to kind of get into the classroom with those with our teaching assistants and how they can support our teaching and learning in the classroom. So if you're interested in engaging in that programme, you've got the link there to take you through to cohort 2. But there is also a cohort 3 that will be running later in the year. If you're thinking of using teaching assistants at multiple points digital competence across the curriculum in progression steps 1 to 3. Now, this is going to be held at St Julian's Primary School, and this is going to look at, over 3 days or 2.5 days, developing that deeper understanding of how we can effectively plan for digital competence within our curriculum, but also then having the hands-on practical experience, looking at a number of different apps, different websites and practical resources and examples of how that can be done in the classroom. So the first day will focus on the planning, the second day will be the how do we actually do that, and then the third final day, or the third morning, will be sort of a feedback session, sharing some of the things that you've done off the back of that training. So that's a really exciting opportunity. Again, teachers in school with sort of lesser confidence in digital competence will be really benefiting from this programme here. We also have a similar offer for teachers of progression step 3 to 5 for our secondary schools. So this will be running in February and March, but this will only be a 1.5 day program. But the first day will again be understanding and unpicking what does digital competence mean for you in your school at progression step 3 through to progression step 5, looking at some resources and some practical examples of how we could take that back and use that across different departments and different faculties. So again, if you're interested in that program, please scan the QR code there. These PowerPoint slides will be available after the session for you to interact with as well. The next part of the Hub Certified Minecraft Education Teacher Program will begin in January, and this will look at, again, effective pedagogy when considering the use of Minecraft education in the classroom, not just as a tool for reward or golden time, but actually the power it has within Curriculum for Wales. We've got a really fantastic cohort that have just come through the program, be using the resources on Hub, looking at things like creating a museum for Wales, clubs of the future, so on and so forth. And again, just a really powerful tool that can bring alive literacy within the classroom, can bring alive science, maths, and so on. Range of opportunities, really worth getting onto that program if you want to develop your knowledge of Minecraft education within the classroom. The next offer, and there'll be 2 cohorts running for this. So cohort 1 will begin in January, so that'll run January, February to March, and then cohort 2 will run April, May and June. And this is in conjunction with Techno Camps, and this is the TechnoTeach Computing for Primary Teachers program. So this is a 3-day intensive program, really unpicking what it is to be a good computational thinker, looking at computer science within Statements of What Matters 6 in Science and Tech, looking at algorithms, scratch programming, and then how to plan to apply those skills within the classroom and across Curriculum for Wales. So a really exciting opportunity to work with John, Dale and the team at Maindy Primary School in conjunction with Techno Camps around some really great resources and opportunities for you in the classroom. Now, a new offer that is new since we last met is this year, Microbit in Curriculum for Wales. As a primary school in Wales, you'll know that you have had access to free 30 microbits for your school. And these are the version 2 microbits, so it can do a lot more than the version 1s. And this is essentially a whole day looking at how do I use the microbit, how do I apply that within the curriculum, and just getting to grips with and developing that skill and that confidence when using the microbit within the classroom. So the spaces for this are already filling up. There's enough for 30 at the moment. I think we've got 12 signed up. So if you're interested in exploring the microbit in a little bit more detail, please do get yourself signed up to that program as soon as possible. The reason it's in April, I'd love to do it sooner, but not every school will have access to their microbits until the end of March. So start of April there into the summer term, an opportunity to develop your understanding of microbit in the curriculum. Also then for our secondary school colleagues, we're doing some physical networks where we're going to get together for the day and look at the different aspects of digital within your school and within your curriculum. So we'll be running 3 networks throughout the day, and you'll need to sign up to each of those networks individually. All networks for this date here will be run at Ysgol Gymraeg Gwynllw in Pontypool and Torfaen. And we'll focus on computer science in the first session. So this will be ideal for any computer science teachers, anyone leading on computer science in your school. From 11 till 1, we'll look at the digital technologies qualification, looking at the GCSE spec, looking at the NEAs and also the exam prep within theory, the unit 1. And then also then the afternoon session, we'll look at digital competence across the curriculum. So what does that look like in your school and how you're planning for effective use of that digital competence? So again, some 2 new offers there, with more coming down the line as well around specific apps, particularly with use of Apple technology off the back of the Apple conference, which was held 2 weeks ago. So really exciting things coming in terms of digital across the region. A few updates from Hub and some of the things that they are running and sharing on the Hub platform. And I think this one is going to be possibly one of the big game changers in terms of logging into Apple devices through Hub in your school. So if your school's Apple devices are now managed through Hub Intune, teachers and learners can log into those devices using their Hub usernames and passwords, simplifying the process for everybody involved. All you have to do is opt in for Apple managed IDs, and this will link all your Hub credentials to an Apple ID, allowing the Hub single sign-on to Apple devices and apps. If you click on the link at the top there, it will take you through to further information and more details around how that can be done in your school. But essentially what it will mean is a child can log into an iPad now using their Hub details. It will pull through all of their Hub credentials. It will log them into all the apps, J2E, Google, Microsoft on the iPad, and they'll only ever need to do that once. So that is a really, really exciting opportunity to use Apple technology seamlessly in the classroom. As part of this as well, and they demonstrated this at the Apple conference last week, the use of Apple Classroom through Hub is going to be available. So the ability to lock devices at a touch of a button from your teacher control device, I think, is a game changer. You don't have to go through and put guided access on all individual devices. You'll be able to do this now with a touch of a button from your own device. So definitely worth looking into. And if you want to find out any more information about how to do that, please contact your SRS technician or your Kafili IT technician, and they will be able to support you through that process. 3 other resources then to consider and think about moving forward before I hand you on to Roisin and the team. The first one being that the Safer Internet Day resources are now available. So the link there is on the left-hand side. You can actually look now at Safer Internet Day resources and begin planning for that day in February. But as you know, if you've come across me, Safer Internet Day is every day, not just in February. So hopefully you're thinking about your digital citizenship as part of your curriculum on a weekly or daily basis if you can. In the middle there, Hub are doing another Hub Present session. This time will be with Microsoft. So details on how to access that can be found in the link there. And during that session, they're going to be looking at some of the accessibility tools and things like Reading Progress and Search Coach, which are really powerful tools that use artificial intelligence to support learners with developing reading fluency and their ability to search effectively when doing their research. Finally then, the final thing there from the Hub team is the information for the Minecraft Esports League has now gone live. The plan being that they are going to be asking you to host a number of friendlies up until sort of Christmas and into the spring term. And then there'll be a formal league that will begin, I think, in the second half of the spring term, where you'll be able to compete against other schools with a final at the Principality Stadium. So a really exciting opportunity to sort of bring esports into your school through the use of Minecraft. Any further information, click on the link there or get in contact with Sarah Snowden in the Hub team. And if you can't get in contact with her, come through me and I will pass on any information that you have. So there's just a few updates from the EAS in terms of the professional learning offer and the Hub team in terms of resources that are available. As always, if you do have any further questions around bespoke support, please do not hesitate to get in contact with me. I would be more than happy to help. But I'm going to stop talking now. We're very, very lucky to have the team from Data Cymru here this afternoon and Roisin. So I'm going to pass you over to Roisin and the team. And I'm really excited about this, guys. So the floor is all yours. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Thank you, diolch, Sean. Yeah, we're all really, really pleased to be here, and I'm especially pleased because I'm going to hand over straight to Rob. So Rob's going to talk us through the project that we worked on initially with South Central Consortium. So over to you, Rob.
Thanks, Roisin, and thanks for having us here. It's great to be able to talk to you all and hear about all the exciting things that are going on very briefly. But yeah, to get right into it, we're here to talk to you about data basic education. I'm going to share my screen and show you what it is that we've got for you. And we're going to have a little bit of a workshop and demonstrate some of the activities related to that. So if I get a share in. Cool. So hopefully you can now see a website, Data Basic Education. I can see a bit of nodding going on, so I will continue. So Data Basic has an interesting history. It was developed, Data Basic initially was developed by some data journalists at MIT for a bit of training in the basic use of data for employees at non-profit companies, basically. The short story is, over the last year or so, we worked with the South Central Consortium to kind of package up that stuff, those activities, that learning opportunity, and put it in a format that would work a little better for schools, let's say. And that is data basic education, which is what we have in front of us. So this page gives you a bit of a thing and a bit of information about who's been involved at different times. But I think the heart and soul of it, stepping away from all these colors for a moment, is in this activities guide. Basically it's a number of activities that kind of show you different ways of thinking about data and what's important in using data and how to use it or better understand it. And stepping back a page very briefly, you can see these 4 icons here for the 4 web tools. We call them in the language of the site, but they're basically tools to get some insight, get some information out of a set of data, and get people thinking about how to do that. And they support some of those activities. So to look at a couple of examples here, we've got things like the fill in a paper spreadsheet activity, where people give a bit of information about themselves, and it builds up into a paper version of a spreadsheet if you're doing it in person. And you can use that to think about, well, ultimately data quality, basically, but what start thinking in the way that people who use data for their job or do data analysis or something like that would think. So I think we'll be running one of these exercises, one of these activities with you in a moment. So I won't go into any more detail on them, because you'll get up close and personal very soon. But if I whip through the web tools to give you a feeling for what I'm talking about. First up, we've got word counter, where you give it a load of words, and it tells you something about the load of words that you gave it. So there's, for common to each of these tools, we have a bit of information about what it is, and then you can run it on some of the sample data that we've got. So you can find out about the words used in Mark Drakeford speeches, or UFOs, or some lyrics by pop artists. You can copy and paste text into here, upload a file, or paste a link to somewhere where there's a load of text online with a bit of an example here. So this kind of different ways to tell it what to point to is common between the 4 tools that we're going to look at today. Ignoring a little bit of the detail here and just click and go, you can see that for the Mark Drakeford speeches information, it's given us a word cloud here, giving us a feeling for which words appeared the most in all the text for this Mark Drakeford speeches. And again, we've got the top words, so basically a table form of this little visualization, bigrams and trigrams, so that just being groupings of 2 words and 3 words respectively. So that gives, it gives people a new way of quickly understanding what might be quite a big text document, and getting a feeling for the character in it in a really visual way that they might not might not have just from skim reading a load of pages. Moving on to the next one, we've got Ask CSV, which is specifically for tables of data, for CSV tables of data. On this one, we've got use some of our chosen sample data sets or upload a file again. Basically, the idea is it'll, for all of the columns in the data that you've given it in the table of data, it'll give you a bit of a summary and an immediate feeling for what's there. If I look at notable British female scientists, for example, the column names are actually a little bit cryptic in this, but you can get maybe the idea that we've got a given name column where Margaret is the most frequent name, and a last name column where Thatcher is funnily enough, the most common surname, well, except for the all of the others out of the top 5 that it's grouped together. UK is the most common nationality, and yeah, London's the most common place of birth, and this is kind of responds to whatever data table that you point this at, and will tell you something about the text or the dates or the numbers that you've fed into it. I'm actually going to skip over same diff, the third tool, just for a moment to onto connect the dots, because my colleague Yayan is going to talk about that one. Connect the dots is a relatively difficult one to understand, but the essence of it is it's interested in the connections between 2 kinds of things, and it creates graph visualizations to take basically a network of things and put it in front of you in a really visual way. It makes more sense than that when you see the thing in the moment, and it'll make more sense again if you run an actual exercise using one of these things. But the idea is that you have a column of one thing and a column of another thing in your data, and it'll talk about a relationship. For example, if we look at characters in the play under Milkwood, we can see some information about the characters and their interactions. So you can see that these characters in this little red cluster are the ones that are closely related to Mr. Waldo here, and you have some other information here about the degree and the centrality, which tells you something about how closely related these points are to each other and how important they are in the grand scheme of things. But because this one's a little bit challenging on a first view, I will give us a second example of what's going on here with some Welsh footballers. You can see here the red points are some teams, and the blue points here are female Welsh footballers, and you can see from the relationships here that these teams have a certain number of players associated with them in this data, but also that some of these players go between multiple teams, and you can kind of, in a really visual way, better than you could in a table of data, kind of start to get your head around how closely related these football teams are. So that is a very, very quick introduction to this website and what it looks like. I promise you'll get more of an idea from the exercise that we're about to workshop with you. Perhaps I have a couple of more things that I could say, but I'll maybe see how much time we have at the end, if any, for any closing comments. So Yeah, and would you like to talk about same diff
Yep, of course. Thanks, Rob.
or the exercise that we're going to do? Would you like me to share a screen again, or are you?
It's okay.
You're
Yeah,
happy to-
I've got it. I've just started sharing my screen. Hopefully everyone can see.
Yeah.
So as Rob said, I'm going to take you through same diff, which is the data tool we didn't go through. Then. So same diff is similar to the word counter tool that Rob went through. So it's using text data, so qualitative data. Same diff compares two different corpuses of text, two bodies of text, and it sees how similar or different those bodies of text are to each other. So the examples we're going to use are Mark Drakeford's speeches and Roger Morgan's speeches, so two Welsh First Ministers. And we have some information here. So we have 77,000 words from Mark Drakeford's speeches and 56,000 words from Roger Morgan's speeches. They have a cosine similarity of 0.68. A cosine similarity is measuring how similar they are to each other, and the closer the number is to 1 is how similar they are. So this the cosine similarity here is 0.68, which is pretty high. It's a pretty good score. And below you'll see we have 3 different columns. So the column on the left are words that are only in Mark Drakeford's speeches. The column on the right are words that are only in Roger Morgan's speeches. And in the middle are words that are in Mark Drakeford's and Roger Morgan's speeches. So you can clearly see, so words like coronavirus, Senedd, these were only in Mark Drakeford's speeches because they wouldn't have been relevant when Roger Morgan was First Minister. And likewise, Roger Morgan spoke about Euro, Quangos, Brussels. These were not in. These were things that were more relevant during his time as First Minister. And the most popular words: Wales, people, government, assembly. They are the most common words used in both of their speeches. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to go into breakout rooms. We're going to choose 2 bodies of text. So you can choose any of these. I would suggest using the song lyrics for both options, and we're going to write a song. In all the groups, we're going to write a song. The first verse is going to be words in the column on the left. The second verse are going to be words using the words in the column on the right, and the chorus will be made up of words in the column in the middle. You can use stop words such as the and it, etc. It doesn't specifically have to be the words in the columns. You can chuck some words in to make sure the song flows or whatever, but it can be as simple as you like. But the main points of the song need to use the words in these columns, if that's okay.
Yeah, I'll just jump in quickly and say that the tool is available in both Welsh and English. So if you're in a group with primarily Welsh speakers, you can do this exercise in Welsh as well. But yeah, you may want to do it in English if not everybody speaks Welsh in your breakout room. But the whole tool is available and all the activity guides in Welsh and in English. And it's completely free as well. So just
Welcome back. It's good to see some of the lyrics coming through in the different room chats, which is great. So I'm interested to hear how we've all gone. So I'll let you carry on, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Hope everyone enjoyed that. I'm going to pick on my group first, if that's okay. I know I said that while we were in there, I'd pick on us first. Would you be able to read our song, please?
Yeah, sure. We looked at the Beatles and Elvis, and so our first verse is Brian and George riding in their submarine on their way to a bungalow. On their journey to Morecambe, they picked up Ringo. Jesus, clambake, love's tender feelings, country cheesy walls, stranger living. And then our chorus was, you need love, I got you, give my hand, I'll be true. Yeah.
Brilliant. I was very impressed that the people in my group got it to rhyme as well. So, which is no mean feat as well. So thank you so much for sharing. Roisin, can we have your group next? Is that okay?
Yeah, of course. So we had Stacey and Chloe. We had a couple of technical issues, so their time in writing the chorus was cut short. But yeah, do you want to take it away? Oh, Stacey, you're on mute there.
Sorry, people keep coming in and out. We did Aretha Franklin and Taylor Swift, did we? So my verse was Hallelujah, going zooming higher, woman hurts deeper, somebody's dreaming Hallelujah.
And then I had Taylor Swift, and had She Hasn't Figured It Out Yet, Teardrops in the Rain, writing songs in her bedroom, breaking walls down again.
Our chorus was Baby, you're never on time, I'll make your day. Very random.
Ah, that's brilliant. Thank you so much. For some great songs so far. Rob, can we hear from your group next? Is that okay?
Sure. We only got as far as writing a chorus. We were looking at Taylor Swift versus Elvis mashup, the classic, and just spent a load of time discussing stuff outside of what we were supposed to be doing. I was about to read it out of the chat, but my Teams isn't
What room were you
bringing
in,
the
Rob?
chat back.
What room were you in, Rob?
Didn't notice a room name.
Oh, hang on.
Unless someone from my team would like to read out what we had.
I can't even remember where what I wrote now, but it was in the meeting somewhere.
I started to write it down and then stopped because I thought, oh, I'll just use the chat.
I'd never go back, baby. I'll let your heart find home. That's as far as I've got.
Oh, that was the one. Yeah,
that was the one.
That was the beautiful harmony vocal of Elvis and Taylor Swift. Sadly, no verses, but hopefully that'll do for you all.
Ah, that's great. Really good. Thank you. Suzanne, can we hear from your group next?
Absolutely, thank you very much. We did quite well. We compared Iron Maiden and Taylor Swift on the assumption that they'd be quite dissimilar, and we'd get some really quite interesting. The cosine was actually 0.8 or 0.79, wow. So they were actually a lot more similar than I was expecting. But I hope my scribe doesn't mind. I was going to hand over and ask you to read it out if that's okay.
We did get two now.
It will.
It is quite random. So we compared, as we said, Iron Maiden and Taylor Swift, and we are a madness generation who fought for money, future demons and beasts trapped for eternal mercy. Daddy Santa is fake. Wow, it's a redneck fairy tale. Oh baby, I'm still around. I'm always right. It's our kind of favorite.
Ah, that's great. That's so good. Thank you. It's really interesting to hear that Iron Maiden and Taylor Swift are actually really similar as well. You'd be surprised at how similar the combinations in this tool are and how similar the bodies of text are to each other. So that's really good. Thank you. I just want to make a couple of points about why we did this exercise as well. So we've been turning qualitative data into quantitative data, which is quite a useful tool. It's also good to see how data can be analyzed outside of spreadsheets as well. It doesn't just have to be spreadsheets and graphs. You can make data fun and enjoyable like this. And you have done a data exercise, even though it doesn't seem like it. Some of the comparing two data sets as well is a really worthwhile exercise to do. And whilst you're becoming more confident with data and analyzing it together, comparing it, and the other data tools that we showed you will do that as well. It's all about raising confidence when working with data. So I hope you all enjoyed that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. And just to say as well, so obviously we have the data sets that are there already, but the real enjoyment we hope will come from you, where you can go in and use either your subject specialism, your knowledge, or what your children in your classroom are interested in, and upload your own data. And make it appropriate for their own age ranges. So, comparing maybe huge corpuses of text with song lyrics not appropriate for some ages, but you can do that exercise with smaller text samples and maybe create a story instead. Do something a bit smaller, do something a bit more age appropriate for whoever you're teaching. But you can do that with all of the activities that are available on the website. And there's things like, asking good questions is great for any research-based topics, things like journalism, media, marketing, anything like that. So we hope that you'll be able to come to the tool with, your own experience and you're experts in your field. So with your expertise and make what you will of it and what you can of it, because it's very flexible once you start practicing and using it. And we are available for questions if you have any now. I think we have a little bit of time now. But if anything comes to you when you go back to use the tool and you'd like to get in touch with us, please do. This resource will be available on the hub as well. It's currently just going through the rigorous testing process for that. So it should be available on the hub, we hope, in the next couple of months. But yes, so Sean, do we have time for questions if there are any?
Yeah, we've got time for questions. So does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask the team? This is where they all keep the cameras off. And no, well, if anyone does have any questions that you'd like to send on to me and I can pass on to the team, or I can hand out direct sort of emails if the team would like me to do so. But just to say a huge thank you to you all for coming along this afternoon and kind of giving us a different lens to look at data through. And I think that was really interesting what you said there, Ian, around, data is so much more than looking at spreadsheets and databases. We've looked at that information in text there and been able to actually create song lyrics or stories or something different. And when you relate that back to what it says in the DCF around sort of analysing data, we were looking as early as progression step 2 here in terms of extracting and evaluating information from those kind of tables that the tools provide, refining that data set to be able to provide to test an investigation or anything along those lines. I think it's just really interesting, and I think like you said, we have that kind of narrow focus on we have to do databases and spreadsheets when there's so much more that we can do. And whilst you guys were all off in the breakout room as well, I had a look through the activity guides, and if you've not had a chance to look at them yet, I'd highly recommend diving into those activity guides. I really like the one tell a story from data, which is quite nice, and I think there was one where you have to make something out of the data, and it's just really exciting, and again, a different way to look at data. So please do have a look at the website, and the fact that it's going to be on Hub is even better. You can have that direct link to the tool as well. So huge thank you to you all. And we look forward to continuing working with you as we move forward. So diolch yn fawr iawn.
Thank you.
Thank you, diolch.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Diolch. Ta-ra.
Afternoon.
Now, when you land on the home page, there's 2 different ways that you can find it. Obviously, the first way that you can find it is through that link there. But as I was sharing with you earlier on in the session, if you are on a school device, you will see there's this bookmark here called EAS bookmarks, and you will have access to the Supporting Our Schools website. Now, on the Supporting Our Schools website, on the left-hand side, under Curriculum and Assessment Support, you'll see the digital page. And on the digital page, you will have all the information around our digital networks, just lower down the professional learning offer and our network meetings. But right in the middle here, you've got the access to those digital progression maps. Now, once you land on this page, sorry, I've gone the wrong one there. Once you land on this page, you'll see there's 2 sort of hexagons that you can use. You've got the information page that just gives you some ideas around how the framework and tools can be used. But also then you've got the link to the progression maps themselves. So here we have 10 different progression maps looking at specific tools that you can use in the classroom to develop digital competence across the curriculum. These have been designed in line with the DCF in mind, making and almost expanding on some of the detail within the producing strand and the data and computational thinking strands. As you can see, we've got things ranging from podcast and video production through to things like photography, music production, spreadsheets, and so on and so forth. Now, the layout to all of these is exactly the same as you go through. So if I click onto podcast here, what it will do is it will take me through to a progression map looking specifically at the use of podcasting within the curriculum. As you scroll down the page, it will give you a bit of information on a podcast or whatever aspect of digital that you've chosen to kind of engage with. It will provide you with some top tips. So when you're planning and considering the use of podcasting in the classroom, what does that look like and what things should you be considering and thinking about? It will give you the suggested apps that you should be using to do your voice recording or your podcasting. And all of the apps that are suggested throughout the progression maps are either free or available through the Hub platform. As we scroll down then, at each progression step, it will give you an example and tell you about what would a good sound recording or podcast look like at each progression step. And here are some examples of things that you could do at progression step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. As you scroll down then, it gives you the skills that you need to be focusing on, okay, at that progression step. And then as you scroll down then, they will obviously become more complex and more challenging as the progression steps increase. So it does look exactly the same as you scroll through the whole document. Now you'll notice just here on the right hand side of the progression step 2.1, there's a button there that says examples. Now in time, when you click onto the examples button, what will happen is you'll be taken to another page, and there will be some examples here of what a podcast or a video recording or anything will sound like or look like at each of those progression steps. So you as a leader or a non-specialist or not a teacher in your classroom can look at this and think, right, okay, what does a podcast or what should a podcast sound like at progression step 1 or 2? There'll be some commentary provided around that in terms of how they planned for that activity in that example. And there'll also then be an example of the work to go with that as well. So you've almost got like that exemplified example of how that can work. So what I'm going to ask you to do now is I'm going to ask you to go into your breakout rooms. Choose one of the progression maps. So again, one of the 10 down the left-hand side here. And I want you to consider each of the 6 different areas of learning and experience. And I want you as a team to just think, okay, if I was going to do a podcast in literacy, what could I do it on? What could that topic or experience be? If I was going to do it in science and tech, what could that look like? Would that be like in expressive arts and so on? So you almost generate a bank of 6 ideas against the progression maps. What I'd also like you to do in your breakout room is just consider a little bit of feedback. What do you like about it? What things could we do to improve it as we move this forward? And is there anything specific you'd like us to develop and generate in terms of a progression map? So I know I've just finished working on a Minecraft progression map, but is there anything else that you think would benefit you in your role in terms of progression using a range of digital tools? The other thing I need to point out on the page as well is if you like a printable copy, I know some people like hard copies, on the top right hand corner here you'll see a hexagon that says alternative printable version. When I click on that, it will generate for me a PDF. It looks slightly different to the map on the website, but the content is exactly the same. So you can, if you wanted to print this off and use it as like a checklist or something along those lines, then that there is there for you. The last bit, and you're the lucky ones because you've stuck around and you're going to get first dibs on applying for this. So essentially, we are looking at funding schools within the region to support us with developing an understanding around progression when using different types of tools within computer science. So just like the progression maps that you've just seen and kind of work through in terms of the tools that are available to support producing, this is now a focus on, if I've got as an example a Sphero in my school, what will that look like in progression step 1 and how is that used in progression step 1? What will that look like in 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on? So we start to create now like device specific maps around that equipment that you might have in school. So the focus of this program is essentially to develop that clear understanding of progression when using those different programmable devices or technologies. The aim is to create those progression maps as a resource for you and your schools across the region as a guide for planning and when you're considering that aspect of computer science. And this will be a funded project where schools will be provided with the money to purchase designated equipment and for the cover to engage in the professional learning and resource creation throughout. So how's that going to look and what devices and stuff are we looking at? Well, on the screen here, these are the kinds of things that we think might be quite common in schools or things might want to engage with and use. So we've got here a number of things ranging from the Sphero Indie to the Makey kits. We've got the normal Spheros, Blue Bots, the Lego kits, Tallow Edu drones. This in the middle here is called a rugged robot. So this is like an outdoor programmable blue bot, which is really, really cool. And then there's also going to be some funding provided then for creating a map using microbits and Scratch. The caveat with that being is the funding provided to schools for that will only be for the cover, because every primary school will have access to their free kit of microbits, and everyone has access to Scratch for free. So where we can, we will, depending on how many schools apply, we will try and supply you with the money to buy a physical piece of kit. But if we can't, then there will be opportunities to engage in the project, just looking at progression in the microbit or with Scratch and Scratch the Cat. So what is the process? So essentially, you will need to apply, and I'll share details of how to do that in a second, to be part of the project. And you need to consider things like how you will be able to support this project, your capacity as a school to be a part of this project. Does it link to any of the priorities within your school development plan at present? So is it a piece of work that you're going to be looking at and focusing on? You will be allocated a specific device. Okay, so you won't be given the money to go and purchase whatever you like. As an example, we might give School A the Spheros, School B Sphero Indie, School C Lego kits, and so on and so forth. That kit will be yours. You'll be able to keep that, and we will give you the specific funding to be able to purchase that kit. Now, we've done a deal with the big learning company where we're going to purchase this equipment in bulk, and you will be directed to them to purchase the exact equipment that we ask you to purchase, essentially. So they will know which school you are, what you're buying, and how much that's going to cost, and we will give you that exact amount. You will also then be provided with an extra £1,000 for release cover, so you'll be able to be released to engage in the project as you go through. And the idea being that throughout the project, you will attend a number of professional learning sessions and drop-in sessions with both myself and Susan Jones, who is the lead for primary STEM. And at the end of the programme then, there'll be an expectation to share your journey and the resources that we've created as part of that programme. We'll be doing that at the final network meeting of the year, which I think I said was the 2nd of July. So in terms of that timeline then, this is what it's going to look like. Applications are now open, and you have until the 22nd of December to apply for this project. In the week beginning of the 8th of January, you will be notified whether you are successful or not successful with your application, and the funding will be allocated to your school to purchase the equipment. And we'll talk you through how you go about purchasing that in detail once you are notified of the outcome. Now, we are anticipating that this is going to be quite a popular application process. So please really consider your application when you're writing and how you're going to support the region and your school as part of your priorities as well. We can only, we are looking at, I think it's 11 primary schools and 5 secondary schools across the region. So it's not a huge project. So it's going to be very, very tight. So please really consider your applications when you're writing them and how that's going to support the project. There'll then be a launch day on the 2nd of February at the offices in Tredoman, where we'll kind of talk you through the process and introduce you to some concepts around progression in computer science. There'll then be a optional session on the 29th of February on the leap year day, looking at developing that understanding of progression even further. On the 8th of May, we'll get together and share the progress that we've made so far on the resources and how that's looking in your classrooms. And on the 2nd of July, then, we aim to share the work that you've done as part of the networking event. Obviously, there's a couple of dates there, but along that process, you will be invited to catch up with Sue and I at any time that you need to kind of talk about your ideas or just give us an update on your progress as you're going through. So that's the timeline. Now the important bit is the application. So you can apply by scanning that QR code there on the screen or by clicking on the link there on the screen as well. I will also post the link to this in the EAS Digital Network team as well, so that you can access that link following today's meeting. During the application process, you'll obviously need to let us know about which school you're from, so on and so forth, but also as part of that, you'll be able to give us a preference on which piece of kit you would like to work with. So if you want to have a Sphero or Sphero Indie, you can sort of tick which one you want. We cannot guarantee that that's the piece of kit that you will be given if successful, but it'd be good to let us know which ones you'd kind of want to work on and develop as part of that project as well. So just as I'm coming to the end of that, does anyone have any questions about that process or any questions about the project itself? No. Okay, so it does say on the email, on the slide, if you have any questions about the project, please contact myself or Susan, and we'll be able to provide you with the information you need to further your application. So thanks very much, guys, for your engagement in the session this afternoon. And that does bring us to the end of our network meeting here in November. The next session will be held on the 31st of January from 2 till 4 with Technocamps looking at computer science, computational thinking and Scratch programming as well. So please put that date in your diary and I will update you via the Teamspace. If you could, just provide a short evaluation on today's session that I can pass on to the Data Cymru team as well. That would be really, really helpful. The QR code is on the screen there, or you can click on the link as always, and I'll pop that link in the chat as well. So you guys can click on that. But just to say thank you very much for your attendance today. Great to have so many along, and I hope you found the session with Data Cymru useful and the progression maps and the opportunity to engage in the funded project with us as well. So diolch yn fawr iawn, and I probably won't see any of you now, so please enjoy your Christmas as well. It will be Christmas soon. So diolch yn fawr, croeso.